Welcome to As I Live and Grieve, a podcast that tells the truth about how hard this is. We're glad you joined us today. We know how hard it is to lose someone you love and how well-intentioned friends and family try so hard to comfort us. We created this podcast to provide you with comfort, knowledge, and support. We are grief advocates, not professionals, not licensed therapists. We are you.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back again to another episode of As I Live and Grieve. Oh, do I have a terrific guest with me today. You're going to love her. You're going to love her accent. You're going to love her words. You're going to love her eloquence. With me today is Claudia Castillo. Claudia, thanks so much for finding the time to chat with me this morning.
Kathy, thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think the best way to have our listeners get to know you a bit is to ask you to introduce yourself to our listeners. Tell them, who is Claudia?
Well, Claudia Castillo, I'm the author of Symphony of the Soul, which it's a guide, to navigate loss and embrace transformation. I mean, like you or everybody, I channel deeply personal journey into this book. And the purpose is supporting others. I heal myself because as you heal yourself, then you can support and heal others. So the devastation of the loss of my son 8 years ago, I didn't know how to survive that. And but he sent me from his spirit, he sent me the tools. And I understood that as I was connecting with him, he will help me. And we are very close now. He in spirit, me here, sharing with you. So the book is about that. The book is about sharing all the insights that I learned from his art, the power of the healing in what he left. So that's, well, before that, who was Claudia before all this? Claudia before all this, she was an obsessive educator. I started learning pedagogy, the science of education, which is a career I studied in Mexico. But when I moved to America, they didn't have that science. They didn't know about the pedagogía. And that's the science of education, right? So they told me, no, here we don't have that. You go to be a teacher or you go to be a psychologist. Well, then I went to study psychology because of But things happened like I studied psychology, then coaching become an obsession. When I start with a community leadership I love, and I did some TV and journaling, and I did a lot of things there, but especially I was dedicated to create beautiful human beings, my children,
Right.
I thought I was in control of everything. And in many ways, I empower them to have so many opportunities and dedicate as a mother, was a very dedicated mother. But I started studying like coaching. And when my son started challenging me with all addictions, then I continue with this spiritual journey of let me go study to be a mindful facilitator. And I was afraid of my son may go to jail because he's driving drunk and he's driving with all these medicines on. And so I decided to go study to help at jails prisoners. That's what I can tell you. Of course, in the book, I explain everything in detail. But I will say, Claudia, it is a mother that was absolutely obsessed with her children.
Well, as most moms are, actually. So in your words, you are us. We are you. All of us who parent children and go through those things where the kids do something that we don't necessarily agree with or approve of, yet they're still our children. We still love them. Now, one of the things you mentioned was that you are still in contact with your son, your spiritual son. At what point did that happen? At what point were you aware that you had this connection?
When I was asking God and I was saying, how can I stay here without looking at you, without touching your body? How can I? And I would come to his room a lot. So then it was very special because it was very early in the mornings, around 4:30 in the morning. That was a time I will be called to journal.
Okay.
Of course, I understood that there was miracles in life and I wanted a miracle. And I say, well, if you want miracles and I expect miracles, I have to work for miracles, right? how can I do that? And I thought, whoa, yes, discipline is the first thing, right? I was very inspired by a book I read that it's about health and rot and living a life of miracles. And it says nothing that happens. You have to wake up before 8. But it was not at 8. It was at 4:30 that he will wake me up. And how do I know it was he? It was 8. And I say it in the book. It's like one day, 4:30, I say, no, Claudia, you're getting crazy. How? This time is not to write. Don't go writing at this time. So could I hear in my closet the puppet that it's here in the book, you see it in the, and I had, they're alive. It fall down from the closet. So, for me, there's no coincidence.
Okay. So you heard the puppet fall and you realized what it was. And that for you was the sign.
That's one of them. They're
one of them. Okay. And the reason I'm asking this question is there are so many people out there that crave that contact, that want that contact, yet they're not getting it. Do you have any tips for them on how to? I know one of the first steps is you have to have an open mind that it's possible, as well as an open heart. But do you have any suggestions for people that are craving to have contact with their loved one who has died?
Sure. That's the book about. It's about, the first thing is we need, or we deserve more than need. We deserve to work on developing our spirit. And how does that look like, right?
Okay.
So the book is about that. The book is about all, first thing, because people get obsessed with nutrition. But I say, first thing is nutrition of your breath, breathing.
Okay.
If you tell me what is the chapter that's the most important part in the book, I will say breathing, because, you can stay without food for 3 months. You can survive. And you can survive without drinking water for 3 days. But tell me about breathing.
You can't. You have to breathe.
Exactly. So the breathing is the first step. Before my son passed, I was obsessed with praying. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
After that happened, I learned, because there was 2 things. Like when you pray, you're talking to God. When you meditate, God is talking to you. So I started to thinking, I deserve that God talks to me. So I started becoming disciplined in my meditations every day.
Okay.
So how else you develop your spirit? Meditation, number 1, but starting with the breathing, because that's what it is. Paying attention to your breathing is meditating. That's what it is. It's very simple, because people tend to think, oh my God, meditation is not for me. And I used to say, no, it's not for me.
Mm-hmm.
Because we all have this mind that it's monkey mind, or I like the way they say, this doctor, puppy mind. You have to say, stay. And that's what it is. It's just, you stay and anchor in your breath or in a word. Or there's so many different ways. Well, for me, the simple way is with the breath.
Okay.
So meditation for me, and I share with you all these techniques, the 8, because this book is about 8.
Right.
We are in this year 8, if you add the numbers. And this is 8 messages my son left me, 8 chapters, and everything is about 8. And so the book is really how to get more into your spirit,
right?
Developing your spirit. Like this morning, every day I take a cold shower. Every morning.
Mm-hmm. Cold shower.
Yes, cold shower.
Well, that'll wake you up pretty quickly.
Yeah, Kathy, but it brings you back to your body. So this is part of getting spiritual. Most of the time, we're out of our body.
Right.
That's our temple. And we forget to get into our body.
Yeah. One of the things I think gets in the way, it has for me personally, is that as we go through school, most of our lessons in school are science-based. We lose track of that spirituality, that soulfulness, that mindfulness. We lose track of that piece of ourselves, because then it becomes difficult if we're science-based, is that I would love to think that someone like my mother could speak to me, and she's been gone for, 12, almost 15 years. But my science brain gets in the way because I want some kind of proof that what I sense, what I feel, what I hear is really her and not my own mind. Does that make sense?
Yes, I feel that is the journey that we have to go through to get out our mind, to get into our heart.
And meditation will help that.
I am all mind, science, science, science.
Right.
And honestly, this book is about science. It talks everything is about science, like
Okay.
virtues that make you happy, science.
Okay.
But anyhow, if you don't get out of your mind, there is no way for you to connect your heart. And
Right.
that's the heart comes with the body, not with the mind. So feeling your body. And an example, like each time you talk, what's the name of your mother?
Francis.
So I feel each time that you talk about Francis, she is there with you, just in that word, in her name. She's here with us.
You say that in the sense of peace.
Yes. You feel
Just
her.
filled me. It just did.
Yes. You feel her now.
As soon as you said her name.
She's with you.
Yet, I don't think I've ever said her name.
Wow, Francis. She is part of you.
Interesting. Can we teach ourselves to meditate? Or is it better something done by a coach, a facilitator?
No, we can teach. And
we can teach ourselves.
And the book can teach you here. It's
okay.
It's really simple. It just,
okay.
Yes, you can teach yourself in a very easy way. This is the book about, learning first how to realize how simple.
Okay.
Observing your breath.
Okay.
In an easy way. And I'll give you a lot of different exercises to support the breath.
Okay.
As you start noticing your breath, I tell you, I will share with you, Kathy, the first time I went to a psychiatrist with my son. I was an obsessed mother. That's because I thought the psychiatrist will give him some medicine to fully save him, right? Okay. This psychiatrist, he was a yoga Kundalini teacher. The first thing he taught me, he said, "Lady, please breathe." And I was like, this doctor, how absurd that he's going to charge me for telling me this. My mind was completely out of it. I didn't know the power that was there. So that was the beginning of me noticing somebody, that I'm not breathing well, because breath should go deep. I will explain that all in the book. You're breathing, most of the people are breathing, when you're a baby, that's the way you should breathe. How you see the stomach, how it goes up? And right, the baby, you're born.
Yeah.
That's the natural way of breathing. But life makes us forget about breathing. And we have to relearn the healthy
Interesting.
of breathing. So when I work with people, I teach them different ways to feel their body and feel the breath in their body. So breathing is a key for if you learn breathing techniques, then you can go to meditation. Easy.
All right. And then what comes after breathing?
Breathe, meditate, pray. My husband and I, after this happened, our loss of our son, we realized we will work together. And every morning we sit in our meditation posture. We do our exercises. There's keys that we have to do every day. So we do our movements that I show also in the book, called this movement to open your spine. Because where spine is a expressway, or where the nervous system goes. So if it's blocked, you will not feel good. So I explained to you all easy 8 exercises that you can unblock this expressway of the nervous system. So we do these, and like, for example, we each have a different beliefs, and I'm very respectful about beliefs in people, because my husband is very religious. I love to stay much more in the breathing and just pray at the end. Before, I was very compulsive with rosaries and rosaries and rosaries, but now I pray a little but breathe a lot. So that makes me feel we have to find the way it works for us.
Okay.
For my husband, it's much more. He reads the Bible and we hear together. So one day he chooses and one day I choose. So that's that. And I get a little bit lost in the stories. But he doesn't. He get involved and he loves it. So a couplehood of spiritual connection. And believe me that some days I just feel my son. I have the picture of course, him. And sometimes he looks at me, in many ways. And another way of connecting with the spirit of my son is nature. When I'm not feeling him much, I go to nature.
Okay.
And he talks to me with me.
Yeah. I love being out in nature. I could sit by a body of water for hours just by myself and just be so completely at peace. Yeah, I understand that.
And Francis is there. Francis is there.
Yeah.
No, you feel her. She's in that water. She's in that connection. I feel that nature holds everybody in that wisdom. Have you heard about talking to the trees? How you
Well,
hold
I've heard of it, but tell me about it. Tell me your version of it.
my version is that if you grounding. There's a chapter about grounding in the book.
Okay.
And grounding, what it does to you, it just takes away everything that doesn't belong to you, everything that it's not good, everything that is inflammation physically, and spiritually, and everything that does not belong to you. It goes to the earth. Of course, now is the science that they sell you even rugs to be grounded.
Right.
Of course, if you have the beauty of living in a place where you can ground, and naturally, you don't need something artificial from but
Right.
anyway, you need the rug, but if not, you can go to the beach, you can go to the park, green. So holding a tree, people don't value it so much, but there's a therapy in that. It's a full therapy. And now it is proven scientifically how a tree has all this information that will help you heal. There's documentaries, and there's I cannot mention names because I don't remember the names, but they're in the book. These documentaries about how people heal just from grounding. So for me, it's very important to ground.
Okay.
Yes, and how you ground, also touching your doggy. That's grounding.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he's taking everything that is not good for you. Your doggy.
Okay. I love your explanation of grounding, how it gets rid of everything that doesn't belong to you. I've not heard that perspective before, but I really like that. Because when that happens, does that not leave you more open
to the power? Yes. And this morning I was listening to this, and maybe I should share. There's a Ho'oponopono. I don't know if you heard about the Ho'oponopono. Oh, this is a very powerful prayer technique. I share it in the book also with all the science behind it, because this comes from a psychiatrist in that work in the psychiatric field with mental health people that were very sick. And I think they were in jails and prisons. And he started this prayer that is called the Ho'oponopono. But I think I explained the story because it comes back from something else, from another field. Remember, things comes from other. But this doctor popularized it with a book. And I find it so incredible. This is the Ho'oponopono, the Ho'oponopono prayer, which is so simple. I am sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. And I love you. Those four. But to be explaining in whatever is bothering you at this time in life, or is there a person that is bothering, or you don't feel good about something? I am sorry. But you are talking to the divine. You are telling the divine that you are sorry for whatever is in your body that is making this not to understand what is happening. I am sorry for not understanding what is happening or what is bothering me. Please forgive me for not getting what is there for me. And thank you for this beautiful life. I am sorry, please forgive me. Thank you. And I love you. I love the person. I love the person, the spirit you are. I love your spirit. I love to be aware of life. I love nature. I love the divine. So this too simple. I brought this to the people in the jails that I visit as a volunteer. After my son passed, I didn't know what to do to feel a little bit less depressed. Right. I say, I'm sure there's people that are very depressed in the jails, because that was my most fearful. I was fearful of the jails more than dying. I was so sure I'm going to go to jail, what I'm going to do. Yeah. And I went there with his partner. So I was so fearful. I went there and visit, and they were absolutely magical moments that I experienced with miracles inside of these rooms, because my son was there. I brought him with my picture, and I heard the experience of my son, and people will relate to him in such a way. And we will do the Ho'oponopono. That Ho'oponopono, explain, doing, and feeling in the body, all this prayer. And I did also powerful exercise, tapping. I brought tapping to this volunteer work in the tapping. I explained there's points in your body. Yes, it's
like finger tapping,
kind of an acupuncture that you do yourself, feeling everything in your body.
Right.
It's somatic healing. It's really works miracles in life. So people that want to know more about that, if they read the book, they see the points, and they can also go to YouTube. In YouTube, there's a tons of things tapping. Thing is good for everything. If you
Oh, sure.
if you will come to this room in Yale's and see how these people there, they have to forgive themselves. Imagine that powerful Ho'oponopono. So the Ho'oponopono, I'm telling you a million things at the same time, but that's my mind works.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, I love that Ho'oponopono. It almost sounds like a Hawaiian word. I don't know if it is or not, but
Exactly.
it is a very simple prayer and one that is non-denominational, one that is spiritual in that whether you believe in God, as so many of us are trained in churches when we're children, or whether you believe in a different being, it doesn't matter. That prayer works for everyone. And it is simple enough to remember and is all inclusive. It just covers everything. And it talks to me, it speaks to different states of mind when you say, the please forgive me, you're admitting your faults, your weaknesses. And then, the thank you and it just covers everything. I love that prayer. I'm going to have to do a little research on that.
You find it in my book.
Yeah.
Go to this chapter. I explain it all with the science behind, with the beginning of it, because this doctor,
Well, then there you go, because I have your book, so I will be doing that research. So this is the time in the podcast. Unfortunately, our time goes by so fast, but that's okay because I want to encourage our listeners to reach out to you, to visit your website. So at this point in the podcast, I want to turn the microphone over to you, and I want you to speak directly to our listeners, and these are listeners around the world, and tell them more about your book, where they can get it, tell them about your website, tell them about any services you offer, any events you might have coming up. This is your opportunity to speak directly to them without me interrupting with my thoughts and comments and questions. So the floor is yours, Claudia.
Thank you, Kathy, so much. It is wonderful. So this Symphony of the Soul, it's 8 tools for finding joy after loss. You can buy the book in Amazon. It's in English, and I'm finding a way to do it in Audible because a lot of people want to listen to things. But now it's in English. There's 3 versions. Chateo del Corazón is my website, which is CHETEO, Chateo. Chateo is the same like chatting from the heart, because for me, that's been a discovery. And I try to do that. Go back to my head, but come back to my heart. ChateoDelCorazon.com. And over there, you can make appointments with me, and I work restoring people's heart. That's what I do. I am a life coach, but I will say more restorative coaching, and work with people that have been into all this suffering of grief and loss. You can find me there. I do workshops organized. I can go to different places. I travel, go to Mexico, Spain, and I'm here opening hearts to transform the life of all of us, and understand that the spiritual growth comes from inside of us, not from the outside, because I've been always in the outside and believing the outside. And now I recognize that we are all addicted in a way or another. And I have to center myself and look at myself, and I cannot control nobody but myself, because that was my addiction, thinking that I can control the life of my son. But I love to hear from you. If you can review my book, I will really appreciate it. It will make a difference in my life. For you, Kathy, and everybody that is hearing us, thank you for exploring from my suffering to your suffering. We heal together. So that's what my experience tell me to tell you, to work on the Ho'oponopono.
That sounds great. Healing together. I like the sound of that. And that's really one of the intentions of this podcast. I know that I personally have healed a lot in the 4 years I've been doing this. With every guest, there becomes at least one item, and sometimes several, and sometimes many items that help me in my journey. I have admitted to everyone, and I've declared it, I'm going to grieve for the rest of my life. It's just a part of life. And grief isn't always caused by the death of someone we love. Sometimes it's loss of a relationship. It could be the loss of a job that you cared about. It could be loss of a lifestyle. It could be the loss of your own physical health.
Yes.
As we all age, get older, and all of a sudden we might have a chronic illness to deal with. Grief is ever present in our lives. And as soon as we believe that it is a part of our lives and that we need to find out how best to mold our life around it, we too can heal. And I do love the concept of healing together.
Healing together in a healthy way.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Claudia's contact information, her website, etc., will be part of the podcast notes, so you will have no trouble finding her. If for some reason you just can't find it, or it's easier for you, you are free to email me, and I will put you in touch with her.
Yes, Instagram too. I have an Instagram.
Okay. Well, we'll put any of that in the podcast notes that you offer to us. Other than that, listeners, gosh, it's been another great 30 minutes or so. I myself have grown from this exchange. I do have Claudia's book. I have skimmed parts and pieces of it. I can't wait to dig in deeper for many, many reasons. And I think if you reach out and get her book as well, you yourself will grow from it too. The title of the book to me is glorious, Symphony of the Soul. I love attending the symphony and I love the swell of the music. So that's what I'm looking as my soul heals, is that swelling as things really become successful and I really grab onto them. And I know that now, just hearing Claudia talk to me today, I'm going to say my mother's name, Frances, more often so that I can grow from that sense of peace.
Yes.
And maybe at some point I will hear what she's saying to me because I know she's talking to me. I just haven't figured out how to receive those messages yet.
Yes.
So listeners, take care of yourselves. Grab the book. Listen again to this podcast because listening a second time, you'll catch something you missed originally. And please join me again next week with another guest as we all continue to live and grieve. Thank you, Claudia.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening with us today. Do you have a topic that you'd like us to cover, or do you have a question from one of our episodes? Please email us at info@asiliveandgrieve.com and let us know. We hope you will find a moment to leave a review, send an email, and share with others. Join us next time as we continue to live and grieve together.